Hello everybody, it's Jake, and today I'm going to be showing you how I painted my Skorne Praetorian Swordsmen. And first, these are the colors that are on the palette from left to right. I have Burnt Umber, Gamlin Asphaltum, Williamsburg Fanchon Red, Winsor Newton Cadmium Yellow Light, Gamlin Cadmium Yellow Deep, Phthalo Blue, Egyptian Violet, Ivory Black, and Titanium White. And the first thing we're going to do is the Pre-Glaze. We're going to take a tiny bit of Burnt Umber and thin it down to a consistency I'm happy with. And I got myself a handful of models, and I'm going to cover all of them in the Pre-Glaze. As you can see here, I added a little bit of Egyptian Violet to the Pre-Glaze. This is a very, very dark color, and it is excellent for staining the model. I like to call it Egyptian Violence because once that thing gets onto a model, it will melt whatever color is underneath there. Not literally, figuratively speaking. And it will look dark as fuck. And your model will look like shit afterwards. Next thing I do is I take some makeup sponges and gently erase some of the color that is established on the model. And you'll see taking up the excess color will leave behind a tinted model, and it'll almost look like a zenithal highlight. As long as you have dark colors in the recesses, it will look like a zenithal highlight. Next, I take straight Fanchon Red and thin it down a tiny bit and lay it down on the capes. And if you'll notice, some of that Pre-Glaze color that's still there, it will mix with the Fanchon Red, so you almost have your shading built in, so to speak. But I do go back with straight Egyptian Violet, lay it down in the recesses, and establish some darker colors in the shading that way. And next I take a dry, soft bristled brush that has no paint on it whatsoever, and that is going to be used to blend this paint out. Next, I grab some of the Cadmium Yellow Deep and add some on top. I place it on the raised edges where I think the most light will be bouncing off the model, and that's to establish some highlights. And I take the blending brush and buff that out a little bit too. And you can go back and forth with this as many times as you want until you have the contrast you like. And here's two models next to each other, one without the highlighting and one with the highlighting, just for comparison's sake. Here I'm doing all the armor, the chest armor, the shoulder pads, the leg armor. There's some spots on the knees that need red. The gauntlets on his arms. Anything that's armor is getting a layer of red. And I also take some of that Egyptian Violet and lay it in the crevices where I want it. And I blend that out too. Especially on the shoulder pads. The shoulder pads, I have a black to red gradient. And that Egyptian Violet mixed with the red and a tiny splash of Ivory Black creates a two-toned gradient where black is at the bottom and red is at the topmost part of the shoulder pads. And that is the color scheme for most of my Praetorian Swordsmen. And here you can see our two models that are finished this stage of the paint job. Next, I'm taking Gamblin Silver. This is a metallic color in oil paints. I squeezed it a little too much, and that's why it exploded on my hand, so be careful when you open your new oil paint. You don't want that to happen. And look at this. Liquid. Oil paints. Metallic silver. You can thin that shit out. This is not like acrylics. This takes the liquid really well, and you can get it to a very nice consistency where it just falls off the brush. Look at that. Chef's Kiss, Emerald Lagasse, Silver. So fucking easy. I don't have to do it twice. I only had to do this once. One layer of this stuff and the metallics are done. Dunzo. One layer. And then you want to do the trim. All the trim. Like last week with trim. I hate trim. I don't ever want to paint trim again. And voila, it's a done model. You don't have to do anything. No, I'm just coding. I'm just kidding. Slow your roll. There's more to do. Like the gold on the cross hilt. I just took some cadmium yellow deep, mixed it with a little bit of burnt umber and asphaltum, and made a tiny little gradient. And then I did the skin. The most important, can't forget the skin. You gotta make them look alive. And I took burnt umber, laid his head out in burnt umber. That sounds violent and gross. And then I gradually added brilliant yellow pale, which I did eventually put on the palette later on, and just mixed it in till I got a nice little face going. And then I added some white and more brilliant yellow pale together to get a brighter shade of skin tone, and did the little T section where you go from your eyebrow to forehead to chin. And that is how I do most of my faces. I just highlight up those areas until it looks like a face on a mini model. And then the eyes, I took ivory black and blacked out the eye sockets, and that's all, because I'm not doing little precise eyes on this model. It's stupid. There's 10 of them. If this was some type of award-winning piece, yeah, I would do the eyes, but not for this. And then I'm done. Now we are finally done. And I will say, off the top of the bat, these are the 26th models of Praetorian Swordsmen I have painted in my life. I have a unit of 10, a unit of 6, and this would be 16 to 20 something. I don't know. I'm not good at math. I failed algebra 3 times in school. So anyway, I am so used to painting these models. This was the quickest I ever painted them in. And they're so much fun. I have the scheme down. And I really, really, really hate painting these models. Like, there's so much flash and mold lines on these models. And not to mention the fact that they only came with 12 left arms and 8 right arms. Like, Privateer Press, get your shit together. And I know this came from a kit that's over probably 10 years old, because it was a 2-player starter box kit from like Mark II probably. But all stupid problems aside, once these models are done, they are fantastic, and these look great. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, try it out, share it. Thank you. Bye.